Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Trophy Room review in progress of the Outer Worlds 2 code provided by Xbox. Uh, I have put over 30 plus hours into Outer Worlds 2. I feel as though I'm on the cusp of beating it, but I have not rolled credits. Ergo, this is a review in progress. This is my overall vibe check of the game thus far as a player who has put in over 30 plus hours into the game. So while these thoughts are my own, they're also not definitive and can change. So make sure to tune in next week's podcast to get my final thoughts. But overall vibe check of the Outer Worlds 2. I'm so happy I could talk to it to my two best buds on the internet because I love this game.
I also just want to add, I also have a code provided by Xbox. I just not have had a chance to hop in yet. So next week I will join Joe in giving my full thoughts. But as we usually do with reviews here on the channel, when one of us plays more than the other one, Light and I will be asking questions to Joe about his time and kind of still be present. So we're not just here listening to Joe.
100%.
I was not given a code and have not played any hours. So I'm
Excellent.
just coming in from what do I want to know to get me to play this game?
All right, excellent. So let's get right into it. Kyle Stevenson, I want you and the audience and Light to know my thoughts walking into Outer Worlds 2 was this was one of my most anticipated games outside of Ghost of Yotei. I played the first game to completion literally early this year. So I was so excited to get to talk to the developers about this game to see what their vision was going to be getting into the sequel. Because as much as I really enjoyed the first game, there was a lot of promise there, but there was also a lot of rough edges because this game was pre Xbox buyout, very double A, and prided itself on being this game that is a RPG that you can beat in 20 plus hours. This game is definitely not an RPG that you can beat in 20 plus hours. The Outer Worlds 2 is quite large, quite vast, and truthfully, the reason why this is a review in progress and not review is there's so much side missions to do. I've just been getting lost in doing that instead. So, Kyle Stevenson, take it away. What's your first question for me?
I think my first question is one that has been on my mind since I know you were playing it, and I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
My biggest holdup with Outer Worlds 1, because I didn't fully love it, was I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the world. I didn't love the gameplay side of things, because it didn't feel weighty. It didn't feel like if I shoot somebody or hit somebody with a melee combat, it just felt like on screen I hit them, but there was no feedback. Like there was no effect of the hit or anything. So first and foremost, like I want to know, are you feeling the weight of your attacks? Do they feel like you're actually doing damage? I know that might be a nitpicky thing, but that was literally the one thing that held me back from truly enjoying the first one.
And talking to the creative leads on Outer Worlds, they said that their inspiration was Destiny, and shooters like that in that same vein. Oftentimes you see a game like Fallout, you see a game like Starfield, and they're like, oh, we're getting there with like shooting mechanics in games. But that's the reason why like the VAT system was a thing in Fallout, because the shooting mechanics were subpar. And even with the Outer Worlds 1, you had the dilation of time mechanic to also help aim and adjust while you were in combat. Time dilation is still there out of just pure preference and liking slow-mo a lot. But in Outer Worlds 2, this is the biggest improvement is the combat. The shooting mechanics are phenomenal. For a game in this genre, it really does a really good job of being a great shooter, let alone it being in a dense RPG genre akin to the Fallouts, akin to your Starfields or whatever have you. So as a first person RPG shooter, this is by far the best that I've gotten to experience. And it very much feels like Obsidian's answer to that of like something that inspired them, a Destiny, a Borderlands, when it comes to like how weapons reload and the goofy mechanics that you get to see each weapon need. But you feel weighted. You feel like you're kind of sliding and doing a dance while you're fighting these enemies, switching through your weapons as you're trying to reload or just out of bullets, so you got a huge giant mace and you're whacking people with it. um, Guns feel like they have impact. Melee feels uh, better, though I'll be honest, I'm more of a gunsmith guy myself, so I didn't use the mace all too much. It was always my, okay, I'm out of ammo, here's a giant mace, and whack the opponent over the head. But the shooting in this game is leaps and bounds better than the first game, and even leaps and bounds better than the competition in that first person RPG space. It's so damn good. So much so that like there are times where I'm like, okay, when are we getting to the next fight? Because I'm itching to shoot something with my revolver. It's a really fun time. Yeah. Lightweight, what say you, miss?
So I the first time I tried to play Outer Worlds, I put it down pretty quickly and didn't love it.
Right.
I picked it up again a couple months later with Mr. Light, and we played it in tandem, and I ended up falling in love with it. My
Yeah.
biggest thing that I struggled with the first time I tried to play it was I thought it was going to be Fallout, where it's just going to be open world,
Right.
but it was open zone instead. Which
Mhm.
once I got used to that, once I knew what to expect, I really enjoyed. But my critique for that was some of the zones felt very small. You
Yeah.
land on this planet and you have this zone, and yes, it's open, but it's tiny. Some of the zones were bigger, but some were pretty small. If memory serves correctly, it's been a
Yeah.
while since I played it. So I guess my question is kind of two-part. Part one, does this follow that same formula where it's open zone? And
Mhm.
part two, what are the zone sizes like? Does it feel like there's a lot to explore in each zone? Or is it kind of like the original where some zones are kind of disappointing with how small they are, but some zones there's a lot to do and you're going to get lost in the sauce because there's just so
Yeah.
much to discover?
Uh, Great question. And truthfully, like Outer Worlds 1, you're right. Very small. I think these maps, the way I've traversed them and experienced again, I say most of them, um, much larger.
Okay.
There was one in the first game where it's like a space runway and it was
Hmm.
very tiny. It was really just a large corridor.
Hmm.
These worlds are, yeah, at least twice as big as their predecessors. So
Okay.
like, Fairfield, the first area that you go to is significantly larger than the first biome you go to in Outer Worlds 1. And the thing that they wanted the world to feel is more interconnected. So for example, there's um no spoilers, but there's a giant facility, and there are like, at least from what I walked into, at least three or four different ways to enter that facility. Whether you wanted to go through a mysterious cave that I wandered into, or you want to just meet them, you know, at the gate, guns blazing, or you could follow a side quest that gets you there and maybe some deeper lore bits as well as to what's going on around the world itself. But even like traversing the world, it seems like the points of interest have multiple ways of going about it. Not like sky's the limit, but like multiple points where you get to kind of play like, oh, this is the sneaky route, oh, this is the guns blazing route, and maybe there's a diplomatic way of solving this problem in the world. So yeah, it's a lot bigger, but at the same exact time, sometimes the world feels a little empty. So talking about like, okay, I got these guns. When do I start shooting? There are times where I'm walking around the world and my hands aren't speaking to the controller as they would be with another game, right? My hands aren't being occupied on the pad. It's more like, okay, I've talked to this person. Now I'm going to spend a minute and a half, walk to this person, talk to this person, solve this rather simple puzzle, and then I'm solving that quest. Sometimes I would like a little bit more variety in the quests as well, where they feel like it's either, hey, go to this area, shoot a bunch of dudes and collect this stuff, or hey, go into this area, infiltrate this thing, get this data pad, and get out. So while the maps are bigger and they're more interconnected, and there's so much more lore bits to discover, sometimes the world still feels a little empty in certain places. Also, I will say, biomes are beautiful for the most part, but sometimes the visual language gets a little muddy and murky because there's just maybe so much fauna and so many different colors that I get lost because I'm a little disoriented, but that's a bit of a nitpick. The thing I want to mention that is a positive to the world is not just the size, not just its interconnectivity, but playing the radio in this world. Um, in Outer Worlds 1 or I think Fallout, you got to like play the radio, and if you did certain things, the radio changes. More of that in this, you also get distress beacons. So you open up your map, you open to the journal, you get to the distress beacon, and it's this person on the radio, and they're like, hey, listen, I'm at this farm in this basement, come help me, everybody's gone crazy. And now you're trying to find this farm, find the location, find the basement, find the person, and that's how the quest starts. It's really awesome. And the the things that you do in the world affect what they're saying on the radio and how they view your help or not help. So it really feels like what you're doing is making a difference in this world, in the open world. So while mostly positive, mostly steps in the right direction in terms of the open world stuff, there are some qualms that I have with it here or there. Yeah. Kyle Stevenson, well, do you have anything?
I do.
Yeah.
I have another question. I hinted at it before of one of my favorite things about Outer World 1.
Hmm.
Um, and again, from the outside looking in, because I haven't played a lot of Obsidian's stuff outside of Outer Worlds.
Sure.
I'm excited for one day to play Avowed because I generally think that world looks awesome.
Yeah.
Um, but the my favorite part of Outer Worlds 1 were the companions,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
Parvati, Sam, some of my favorites from that game.
Parvati. Check your
Parvati,
privilege. Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for keeping me honest. How are the companions in 2? And are you finding it easy to attach yourselves? You have a favorite? Are do you feel the need to swap them out in combat? Like how does it work in 2?
Yeah.
And is a
So
romance.
Well, I
unfortunately,
do know they've been
yeah,
pretty vocal. There are no romance
no
options.
romance. Like,
I
I'm
was hoping
sorry.
that they were lying
Yeah,
Yeah.
no sex
because I
spot with
I did
Valerie.
I did read that, but I could have sworn I romanced Parvati in the first game.
S- I'll
It's
talk you
like
off
fade to
review.
black
Yeah.
romance where like you fall in love with each other, but it's not like
Yeah.
other games where like they do the dirty. You know what I mean?
No, I get it. So Baldur's Gate 3. We're not getting nasty with Karlak. But in terms of the companions in Outer Worlds 2, talking to the devs, they're like Parvati was the blueprint, and I very much see the vision here. While they don't hit on the same level of Parvati, I think she is just the gold standard. Niles over there, man, he's my dude. He's the first companion you get, and he's just my forever boy. The cool thing with some of these companions like Niles, like Valerie, is you get to, as you level up, they also level up, right? And so you get to kind of make what type of companion you need. So you can have it so that, for example, Inez can shoot that big giant like crab laser out of her arm, or she can heal you. Or for Niles, when you're in between combat, you can say, hey, could you open up the crafting so I could craft bullets on the go? He'll do that. Valerie heals you as well out of combat if you need her, that type of stuff. So companions have more utilities to help you in and out of battle. And while they don't hit the narrative beats that I like as with Parvati, doesn't mean they're slouches. Their stories are very compelling. The things that make them compelling isn't the overall arc with them, but more the options or the choices you make in the game impacting your relationships with them. It's not something as simple as, hey, listen, there's uh, a Niles mission, and Niles he conflicts with um with certain characters in the group. So I'm not going to bring my rogue companion with me. Instead, I'm going to bring Valerie the robot, right? Um, you could avoid certain situations like that because Niall's choices are going to be different than Inez. But at the same exact time, um, if Niles does something that impacts Inez so deeply, you can lose Inez, right? Or you'll hear them bicker along the battlefields. Your choices that you make, you can lose a companion forever, which I did by accident because I went dyslexic and didn't read a sentence, and
Can you say who you lost? Who'd you lose?
I had to kill Inez. So
Oh, how could you?
I'm sorry, Erica Ishii, but I had to. It was me, either me or her. But at that point, that's a choice that I had to live with. She's gone forever, and now I only have a few. I have one less companion with me. So it's those type of situations that make the relationships with the companions so much more impactful because not only do your choices affect them, but their relationships with each other are different because, Inez is part of Auntie's choice and Niles is part of the directorate, right? And they have different philosophies. So that's the one cool thing about the companionship is how your choices actually do influence them and your decision. Because you could be like, listen, I really like Inez. How do I make it so that I'm thinking about her best interests? So yeah,
Can,
companions at the same exact time. The one big fault, the AI, man, they're still pretty freaking dumb. Like they
sure.
are not that smart, and oftentimes, Asa in particular, love her to death, uh, pure chaos. But like she has killed me more times than I would like. Yeah.
I want to ask a follow up with it because some of my favorite part about companions in RPGs, I think the gold standard. I think about it, Mass Effect 2, and like the companion missions to build the trust, which have an effect on the game, and those side stories being so cool and so in depth. I was just wondering, you don't have to go into story spoilers because we don't want to spoil anything here, but have you had a companion quest moment that you'd be like, oh my god, this like makes me love this character even more, or like I feel more of a bond with them after doing this?
Yes, and it's Niles because he is just my boy. And there's spoilers, so I won't talk about it, but like there's some like narrative things about Niles that I really like. And there's this one mission that his arc mission that I was like, okay, he's my forever boy. That said though, when I think about like the companions and their stories and the choices that you have with them and the Mass Effect 2-esque like structure, they really like when we talk about like the suicide mission in Mass Effect 2, that's they build on that so well with this game where your choices are constantly impacting the world and impacting the companions that you're with and the quest givers that you're either helping or hurting, and even to the boss fights where there was a major twist in the game where all of a sudden I had to think about the game differently and how can I make this work to my benefit, or how can I see this in their lens. It was a really interesting way of like maybe I can talk my way out of a certain situation, out of a certain boss fight, and being able to do that felt just as rewarding as the one boss fight where I couldn't talk my way out of and I had to go guns blazing. And that being said, the guns blazing part, while fun, the enemy AI are extremely smart, which makes me a little frustrated with the combat with my AI being as goofy as they are. The enemies are really smart. They adapt, they flank, and you really have to think about your approach to combat, but more so your approach to your character and how you're building them from the very start. There is no restarts, there's no retries, there are restarts and retries in terms of like you die, you come back, but in terms of like resetting your character traits, none of that. You make a decision with the character, you're living with that decision. Even when it comes down to the trait system that they greatly evolved from Outer Worlds 1, where, like, for example, for me, and I know this is something the devs talked about a lot, but over prepared, where, hey, because I come into because I reload after every other shot, I become over prepared, which means now my guns come even with more ammo, like 50% more ammo. But if I let the clip go down to zero, I reload with half a clip instead. And so that's kind of the situations that you have where, like, if you're crouching around a lot and you're sneaking around, you get old people knees where you make a knee pop sound when you get up and it'll alert the room and then everybody knows where you are. There's one where for me, and I hinted at it with the interview, where it's like I put my skills in literally everything. And they're like, you have ADHD. Here's you'll get more skills when you level up, but you can't control where those skills are going to be. They're always going to go to like whatever the lowest number is. So it's like, oh damn. But that's also kind of beneficial. So there's there's gives and takes to the trait system, but if you don't want to partake in those choices, you don't have to, which is really awesome. So yeah. Light, do you have any other questions before we close this thing out?
Um, yeah, again, it's kind of a two-parter and it
Go
kind of
for
goes
it.
off of what you were talking about with your traits and stuff. So one thing I loved about the first Outer Worlds game is that the way Mr. Light and I ended up playing it was completely different from the way my brother ended up playing it. And when we were comparing notes, it was kind of funny because it was like we were so on opposite ends of the spectrum. Like Mr. Light and I leaned heavily into the companions. All of our skills went into perking up with our companions and having bonuses for having a companion with you. My brother did the lone wanderer skill trait. So he got perks for not having companion with him. He also did dual wielding pistols and he got those really high and they were just completely different builds.
Yeah.
Um so do you still get that feel with this where you could the world is your oyster and you could kind of build a character that is the gameplay style that you want it to be?
Yeah.
And the kind of offshoot of that with the weaponry, because as we see in the trailer and as we know from the Outer Worlds games, the kooky, wacky, fun weapons are something that's a real draw to it.
Yeah.
Do they have kooky, wacky, fun weapons that will fit the variety of different builds you might possibly want to have?
Amazing question. Yes and yes. Um, so like the variety of play and just like the characters you want to build. Like for me, my character will always be, if I'm playing a space game, a little bit of Han Solo meets a little bit of Guardians of the Galaxy. You could be completely lawful good, or you could be literally a psychopath. And that opens up a whole new just cavalcade of choices for you because you're a freaking psychopath. And you could be a serial killer that just collects trophies and you're killing literally everybody. You could be a thief, and if you steal too much, like I do, you get kleptomaniac, where you accidentally steal from vendors when you're shopping at vendors. And
I
sometimes you
love
get
that.
away with it. Yeah, sometimes you get away with it. Sometimes there's a big stink about it. So yeah, no, there's constant variety. And when it comes to like the weapons that you're making, a huge onus on the player to use the crafting system. It's what I constantly run into. I'm constantly making new weapons. I'm constantly making new mods. I'm constantly making ammo. You're wasting ammo constantly. At least that's how I play. Maybe I'm just using too many bullets, but you want to craft weapons as much as possible, or ammo for weapons as much as possible. You want to make sure that you're switching out of outfits and switching out of mods as as you see fit for what you need to do. So I can't preface this enough. Use the mod system, use the crafting system, because it's going to help you greatly as you traverse the worlds. Yeah, great question. Kyle, what say you, sir? Any other
I
questions?
I only got one more because it generally sounds like my only nitpick that made me stop because I wasn't enjoying it has been addressed at some point, which
Mm-hmm.
the gameplay side of things. So I'm excited for it. But I always like to ask when we do these things, just because we're inserting this again, timey wimey into the main show,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I was just trying to platinum ball pit on the stream.
sure.
What are the trophies like? What's the trophy list like, Joe? Is it doable? Is it
Yeah.
is it a tough one? Like,
So the trophy list as of right now, because the game has not gone live, is invisible to me. I can't see it. But the devs have said you're going to be playing this multiple times. And I think they've hinted at you got to play Psychopath, which is going to be playing the game on super hardboard. Um,
gotcha. Okay.
so yeah. And when it comes to the story itself, The vehicle is your Earth Directorate. You are pretty much the Buzz Lightyear of good two shoes, thrust into a situation where you are betrayed, and then you are there. Your mission is to hunt them down, and wacky and crazy things happen while you're hunting them down as you're thrust into a very tenuous political systems at play that are at odds with each other. So you have Auntie's Choice, which we explore a lot of corporatism in Outer Worlds 1. It's still here at the forefront. Auntie's Choice is Auntie Cleo or whatever merging with Spacer's Choice to make a new conglomerate, which is like some at some point someone had to be in the room going, "Is this play about us?" And then you have the Protectorate, which is like this Stalin-esque, communistic, fascistic, like future wasteland type of situation. And then you have the Path, which is the Order, which is following a religion from the previous game, and they're expanding on it, where it's not about like gods and mythos; it's about mathematics, arithmetic, and where humanity fits in the overarching thing of the universe. And then there's another you know there's other politics at play with all these different uh, uh, governing factions, and you're kind of making constant gray area choices, which I really love with this game. Outside of the first game, where it kind of felt like, yeah, I get it, corporation's bad, I'm just going to take this guy's advice as I go through this game. This one, there's a lot of shades of gray. You're kind of just you're going through the world and treating it as it is rather than you trying to change it, if that makes sense. So your choices are more flexible morally, and that makes it so that you're able to play with the rules as you see fit. Um, so while the overarching story is somewhat uh, basic, it's the choices along the way that make this game something really special. Uh, and that's what I really love about this game, because you're taking a look at all these major parties at play, and they're not all right and they're also not all wrong, and you're trying to find where you kind of fit in the whole grand scheme of things. So yeah, at the end of the day, I very much recommend Outer Worlds 2 if you know the genre, if you love games like Fallout, like Avowed, like Elder Scrolls, like Starfield, right? Those first person shooter RPGs. This is very much up your alley. It's harder. It's all about your choices. It's all about you navigating those choices and living with them. Um, and yeah, it's a game that I found very hard to put down once I started playing. So, as a game that was one of my most anticipated games this year, it lived up to my expectations.
Nice.
Yay.
I also just want to very quickly
Yeah,
congratulate Obsidian on 3 games in a year is no joke.
yeah,
Like launching 3 games is an incredible achievement. So like, you guys are putting in a ton of work. I hope you're resting.
hope. But they got more DLC on the way. So that's
Good
been
on
our
you.
thoughts, our review in progress of The Outer Worlds 2. So, yeah, everybody, I can't wait to see y'all next week on the main show when I talk about my final thoughts on the game and give it a hard number. How about that? With all that said, with all that out of the way, love y'all, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye bye.
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 And with that, back to the show.